In the Huddle was created to give student athletes, parents and coaches an inside look at the journey through US college sport and all that comes with it. The demands, the experiences, the excitement and the opportunities available to our student athletes from around the world. Study and Play USA facilitates a comprehensive, customised approach for student athletes and families for their whole journey, from their high school preparation years right through to US college graduation. Hi folks, and thanks for joining us for another Parent Perspective episode of In the Huddle with Study and Play USA. Today on the line from New South Wales are parents of US college golfer Harry Phillips into his second year now at Knox College in Illinois. Welcome Jackie and Dan.
Hello there.
Hi Chris.
Thanks for joining us, and it's great to catch up, but also we appreciate your time chatting today, which will no doubt enlighten other families who are about to embark on this college journey for their sons and daughters, so appreciate your time today. We'll jump straight into it. I just want to really probably start with doing a bit of a virtual report card, I guess, for Harry in his first year and a bit now, isn't it? If I can ask you to get your parent caps on here and provide your perspective across sort of a number of these items. But we'll first start, I want to talk about the settling in period. Okay, if you can cast your mind back to when he first arrived at college in Illinois. Did you go over with him?
Yeah, we did. So we flew over, flew into Chicago, jumped on the train, went out to Galesburg, and got him settled in his dorm. So I think that was a really great way to do it for us as parents, just to be able to actually see where he was, get to know the area. We met his coach and his teammates, took them out to dinner, and so it really meant that when we came back, we really knew what it was all about, and sort of firsthand.
Yeah, I think it does make it easier. It makes you feel more comfort when he starts talking about, I went to the library today. You can picture that in your mind, or I went and did a practice session with Johnny today, and you know who Johnny is because you've met him, and I think that obviously makes you feel a bit more comfortable. In terms of the college itself, when you arrived, and I suppose after you left, in talking to Harry, what sort of things did the college do and the coach to help Harry settle in? Do you sort of remember any of those things?
When we got there first with Harry, there was only about half the team there because we were international students, arrived a little earlier.
Yeah.
So the coach was fantastic. We spent a bit of time with him, and he went through the way that they indoctrinate their kids into it, and he was giving us a lot of comfort in how he felt about the other team members. He thought that the Harry would fit in really well with the other team members, and so that was really reassuring for us. Yeah.
Well, that's really good. They do a good job of it, and that's one of the common questions we get from parents. What's going to happen when you get there? Because not every family does escort their sons and daughters over there. So when they arrive, from the minute you touch down on American soil, really, you've got a coach arriving at the airport, and then there's a lot to do, isn't there? Like, do you remember Harry having to sign his name a few times, get his ID? Were you there for those moments and things like that?
Yep, we were. So had to go to the cafeteria, get his picture taken, get his student cards, his concession cards, get his key to the dorm. And so again, I think just being there, he could have done all of that, and but you're right out of your comfort zone. So I think the fact that we were there, he still did it all. But we were there, I guess, as just onlookers or for support, and again, it just made us, got us intimate with the college, and went into the cafeteria, and we spent a bit of time in his dorm, and met the early people who were there. So I think it was just, if you can do that, it's obviously just gives them that extra layer of support, but more importantly, as parents, just it means that we've got more intimacy with where he is. It's not a mystery. So it works well.
Fantastic, and we're lucky we live in 2020 too, because you bring back memories for me, because my parents didn't certainly take me over, and even researching the university, didn't have internet back when I went. I'm showing my age here, terrible, isn't it? But you're sort of going in on a bit of a sight unseen sort of a basis, and yeah, all the support. Yet I was getting support messages via fax, so that was how things changed. So the modern family or parents of a college kid have every opportunity to really engage, and I'll come back to that in a moment as well. But you also reminded me of the photo ID, Dan. I came straight from a holiday on the Gold Coast in December. I went over in January entry, and so I had some pretty bad sunburn and peeling. And went to freezing cold Oklahoma and got my photo, and I think they thought I was frostbitten. It wasn't. So no, that's bad sun protection. So anyway, brought back memories. And now I guess just on the settling thing. So now moving forward, so Harry's into his third semester now, isn't he? Third semester?
First semester of second year.
Yeah. So he's what about the ongoing support? Do you get a sense from him? Obviously, you probably haven't been back since that initial drop off, but how have you found the ongoing support for him? Is he feeling part of the place now? I'd imagine part of the furniture.
Yeah, one of the best things is he was put in a dorm in first year, and we actually didn't get to meet his roommate because his roommate was an Illinois local, but wasn't going to arrive until a few days after. But Harry just got put in with the best kind of roommate. The coach actually said these two guys will be quite good together, and his roommate's on the golf team as well. So they became firm friends and got on really, really well. And they've actually both moved into a fraternity house in the same room again this year. So I think Harry became friends with so many people in his dorm, quite a tight group. Girls and guys. The dorm was filled with athletes from all over the world, all different sports, and he was really formed quite a tight bond with all of those people, which has been really good.
Yeah, I think there's two parts to that, Jackie. I think college coaches in general do a really good job of that. They'll obviously get to know Harry, and I know this particular coach did such a great job of getting to know Harry over the recruiting process. I mean, they were in pretty much constant contact. So they can match personalities to room with, I think is really a really smart thing to do. But then the second side of it is, it's what you make of it too. I think that a lot of that comes down to Harry, the fact that he's gone and met people. It's what you got to do. You've got to get out there and meet people, and the more people you meet, the more comfort you find. And I'm sure he's found Americans are incredibly welcoming people, and always ready to listen to an Aussie and talk to him or her. So that's pretty common what you just said, and it's good to hear. Okay, so that's good. I think that's important to talk about the settling in, because I think parents listening want to know this sort of information. If we move forward to the second sort of part of this report card, I suppose, on the academic side of it, we knew when we first met with your family that Harry was an above average student, and so it's no surprise he's landed at sort of one of America's higher ranked sort of liberal arts colleges. So just for the sake of listeners, what's he studying, and how's he doing with his studies?
So he's doing business studies, and he'll major in finance and actually computer science, which is interesting in itself because he did a year of uni at Sydney University here and really didn't enjoy it. He didn't enjoy the computer science bit. So it's very interesting that he happened to get some very good tutors that sparked his interest in a subject that he otherwise thought he wouldn't enjoy. But he's, and I think we'll get into this further on, he's doing Division 3 golf. He actually got an academic scholarship rather than a golf scholarship. And his focus has been, he loves golf, it's his passion. And much as, anybody in that situation would love to be a, PGA golfer, he's also realistic enough to know, well, particularly when you get over there and you see, see the standards, that he can still be a a lifelong, very, very good golfer, but he's probably got to get a proper job. And so to do that, he knows he's got to get very good marks. And so he's really knuckled down and very focused on the academics. He's doing really well, pretty much straight A's. Straight A's is his aim, and he's pretty close to that. So it's been good to see that, because I think it's that combination of being in a place that he feels very comfortable. He's got a great support network, brilliant friends. He's obviously got the golf there, but his main focus is on doing really well and coming out with a strong degree.
No, that's really pleasing to hear, because you're right. I mean, we will talk about sort of the Division 3 and some of the features of Division 3 and the fact that it can be more academic focused. We'll come back to that, but I think the word support's come up a few times already since we've been chatting, and I think from an academic point of view, when we hear the words academic support, we assume that's maybe for someone who really needs that extra help. They might be struggling with their academics, but it's not just that. It's, you mentioned it, Dan, how he's had some tutoring, I guess, and maybe advising that's sparked something back in him to go back to a course he was doing. So can you talk a little bit about the academic support at the college that you've seen so far in terms of that type of thing?
I think what's really good about the college that Harry's at is that the classes are quite small. And so I think Dan said tutors, they're probably the professors, they're the lecturers. But I think because the classes are quite small, you can't kind of hide away in a lecture of 300 people like you probably could at Sydney Uni.
Yes.
And I think it forces you to become a part of the class, which I think Harry's actually really enjoyed. But also that means that you have to step up, and if you've got stuff, the tutor or the lecturer will know who's missing from the class, and they will ask you to do things. So I think Harry's felt that he's really got to step up, and that's a good opportunity for him to show what he can do, and and to impress them as well, because he wants to really do well. So but I think the other thing the college has done is that they offer a tutoring support, but second year students are the tutors. So only some students get asked to be tutors. So Harry's actually asked to be a tutor. So that's the only kind of money you can earn. I think it's about $7 an hour or something. But so he has to be available from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. and people will click on the computer and find a tutor and go through things. So that's what Harry's doing this year.
Fantastic. Again, not surprised, and that's one person. But it is great to hear. But I do actually remember. I'm not sure which one of you. I think it might have been you, Jackie, when we first met. I think you did ask me how on earth can Harry go do all this and be a full-time student and manage his golf, because in Australia our system doesn't necessarily. You go to Sydney Uni, they're not going to care too much about his golf schedule, but because you're representing the uni, they're all in sync, aren't they, over there? And they seem to be. It's a very different system in that regard, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. One thing that we were worried, how was he going to juggle everything? But the coach was fantastic there. He said, he realizes that, golf's an important part and a factor, but it was his wish that the boys all do well academically as well. He did not want to see anyone fall behind. So he recognized that, this was very important for them to be able to juggle it and juggle it well. So yeah, we took a lot of direction from him and his support of the boys.
I love that. Love that about the American system, because obviously Harry's a student athlete. That's his title, as it is for everyone who's balancing both. It really is student first, athlete second, and that's not just a Division 3 thing. That really is across the board, right across America, which I think is incredibly healthy. Such a good culture. Certainly, yeah. For myself, who went over to be a professional tennis player, used college as a stepping stone, I learned very quickly that I really need to focus on my academics if I want to actually get those sporting opportunities and maximise those. So, and in doing so, it made me a better athlete, I think, because you've got a very healthy balance of focus where you're not eating and breathing one thing. So, I'm a bit like a broken record with this, but I'm very passionate about the system that they offer for that, to be able to allow that balance. So I'm pleased to hear that you've noticed that already for Harry. What do you think about the Australian system? Obviously, a bit of a shout out to Harry's old school, Scott's obviously a great school. How do you think that prepared him for college?
To be honest, the key for Harry was, as I said, he actually left school. He went to Sydney University, and I think he sort of felt a bit lost in it. He really didn't like many things. So here's a real negative plug for Sydney University. I'm sorry, but it just didn't. Didn't suit him. And the reason I mention that, though, is because it meant that when he, unlike a lot of your clients, or the students who you talk to when they're in year 10 or 11 or 12, we spoke to you when he was a year out of uni, so he had a bit more maturity. And so I think that's what really prepared him. He had taken a year off to focus on his golf and got that down to a level where this wasn't an option. It wouldn't have been an option for him when he left school. So, in a way, I'd sort of say it's less about Scott's. It's more about, for him, having that sort of year off, that extra year of maturity, which meant that when he went to college in the US as a freshman, he was the same age as the juniors. But that meant it wasn't a stigma or anything. It just meant that he could relate to, he had a lot more maturity than the other freshmen, and so he could relate to all people in the college probably a little bit better, because he'd already gone through that out of your comfort zone experience of starting university. So what does that say? It says that different things for different people, but when you're making that big step of not just starting college but going overseas, living away from home for the first time, some people will be able to do that straight from school. Others, will need a gap year. It just depends on the person.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. We see a lot of kids in the first year over there. I think it's a good reason to go to college straight out and not necessarily look at it as a gap year, but your first year, just eyes wide open that there's going to be some struggles, because you are going out of this very cocooned environment of school. And there's a big wide world out there, and you're in a different country, a different culture, different foods, the little subtleties, different coaching style from a sporting point of view. Everything's different, basically, different climate, and you just got to adjust. So I think that first year can be tough, and whether that's here in Australia or in America, really. And I think I've always said, when a student leaves their high school grounds, they literally change 1 minute later. The minute they finish, it's just complete. Their eyes are open to other things all of a sudden, and they're just learning all the time. That's why I do see a lot of kids, I think, in the Australian system, and in the American system, that first year out, they'll chop and change their courses, and they're just still a little bit uncertain. Okay, so I think that's what I love about the American system again, is that you don't need to make big decisions on what course to study in that first year as well. You can. It's very flexible, and it's obviously been pretty helpful for Harry as well. So.
I will add, though, Chris, when, in order to go through the whole process of getting into the US system and stuff, there were quite a few documents that we needed from the school, and they were incredible. So, in terms of references, they remembered Harry. Harry was, really quite well known in his year and his tutor group and that. So, the school was fantastic.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because, you do need your school on side and in the process. Admissions, absolutely. So that's good to hear. All right, so we'll move on to the golf and the last little topic of this report card. 1 year in, or 1.5 years in. So recently, Harry was kind enough to share his golfing experience with us via a video link, and I don't know if you knew that, Jackie and Dan, but we were able to share this with some budding high school golfers at a couple of schools that we work with, and they were blown away by his, I guess the coaches were blown away by his enthusiasm and his maturity, which you mentioned before. so that was a really. I can show you the video if you like.
Yeah, for sure. Send us the link, Chris.
Oh,
We haven't seen that.
no, he did such a good job. We really literally contacted him, and within the next day he had 5 to 7 answers about different things, all recorded, and we shared that with some other young high school golfers. So
that's right. We'll slap him around later for not telling us about that one.
yeah, I was going to say he's exactly right. I'll forward the link, mate. We'll be all good.
Yeah.
I'll get him out of trouble. How would you describe the golf experience? You touched on it before, talking about the level being so strong over there and so much depth. But how would you describe Harry's golf experience in college so far?
Well, it's been interesting because in his first year it was normal, it was pre-COVID, and so they were going to tournaments. There's quite a strong team, and they had to qualify. There were 11 or 12 in the team, and there's only, depending on the tournament, sometimes there's 6 that play. So fortunately, he managed to get into the playing, just scrape into the playing group.
All but one tournament, and that was because he had an international orientation weekend that he had to go to.
Yeah, so he got lots of playing time. But having said that, it's such a good team, and the coaches built such a good culture that, they're very supportive, whether you were actually in the playing group or not. And also, and probably another thing about Division 3 is that a lot of the time they broadened it so that more of the team could play. So that was great. I think he got great experience there. And then this year they've been able to keep playing, but it's really just been within the team. And obviously they all get on so well, and so they can be very competitive just within their own team. And the other thing about Harry that I think, Chris, is not only does he like playing golf, but he's a real he's passionate about it. He's a real student of it. So of all aspects of it, whether it's the technology, the clubs, the balls, the just the whole swing. He's really very, very knowledgeable about all aspects of it. It's not just about going out and having a good game. He really just loves all aspects of it.
Yeah, he is a student of the game. He's a student in everything, isn't he? But he'd make a good coach one day. I'm sure he probably doesn't.
Yeah, if he had the patience, he would. Yeah.
Said like a true dad. I love it. No, that's good. That's good to hear. And you just mentioned Division 3 again. I want to just expand on your comments about Harry's golf a little, because I think for those who haven't been to the US or familiar with the system, and they maybe have not seen what's on offer to these student athletes, it's very hard to get a handle on the enormity of the opportunity, I think. And that was one of the things that Harry touched on in these videos that I'll send you, about just the types of courses he's playing on. It's just, courses here that it'd be an absolute pleasure to get on. That's normal over there. They can just jump on any time and play as part of their university links, I guess, with those courses. But so he's playing Division 3. Typically, many would describe Division 3 college as the right place for someone who is education focused, maybe not as high a level of golf or sport, and we know that's not necessarily always an accurate description. It's not that Harry's not a very talented golfer, but just if we just focus on Division 3 in general, what you know of it and compared to some of the others, what's the selling point, I guess, for Division 3 based on Harry's experience so far, do you think?
I think Harry has a couple of mates, and they're at Division 1 colleges. And one of the guys went there in January, and right up until the end of the year, he never got a game in the team. So, and he's a fantastic golfer, Harry had said, but he never got any gameplay because he was never good enough. Yeah. So I think for Harry, it's competitive, super competitive, but he's actually getting gameplay. And for him, he would much prefer to be playing the game rather than sitting on the sideline watching. So, Harry, I think Division 3 is perfect for him because he's a good player. It's very competitive and he's having some great games, but he's actually good enough to play in the team and actually represent the college. And I think that's a really big thing for him. There was no point for him going somewhere, playing in a division above where he probably should be and not even getting a game.
No, that's a really good point. I think it's not just Harry, Jackie. I think 99% of kids will want to feel integral. You know, you want to be, we all want to be healthy, right? You know, we all, you want the coach to want you there rather than say, righto, you can come, can't guarantee you a spot. You're going to get awesome. You're going to get awesome practice. You're going to be around great golfers, and you're going to get all the gear, and you're at an amazing big name uni that people recognise. But if you're not playing, you know, that's where we see a lot of kids transferring to a different college, because that's what you're there for, really, isn't it?
It's very demotivating, I think, if you're not playing.
Well, the other thing to think about is, and you know, any professional sport is, you know, the difference between the best and, you know, and world, you know, and the elite, you know, can be seconds, it can be, you know, one putt, it can be, you know, a serve in tennis or whatever it is. And so, you know, if you think about it, particularly with golf, you know, if you are just that, you know, that destined for greatness, then sure, Division One, and I'm sure all the Division One coaches would want you. But you know, if you start in Division Three, if you're good enough, you're going to get to where you want to get to anyway, without having that pressure that, you know, the higher divisions place on you. So you know, it makes a lot of sense. And then particularly from the academics point of view, because it is, you know, it's study and play, it's not just play. And you know, the study part is really important, because, you know, you know, for you as a, you know, yourself, you know, the aspiring professional, you know, it's such a tiny gap, isn't it, between getting there and not.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. I think really, I knew nothing about divisions when I went to college. I just went to college that was recruiting me, and I had very little time to make a decision because I was very late to the game, to the process, sorry, and just went. I ended up at Oklahoma State University, one of the best 4 years of my life, and it's led to me doing this with such passion. But it wasn't a division issue. If it happened to be a Division 2, I'm sure it would have been okay. The key is it had to be a good program for me where I felt comfortable, had to have the academic fit, obviously my parents was really important that I got a good scholarship. There's a lot of factors, right? So, but it's not the division. It's important to understand the difference between divisions and how scholarships are offered. You mentioned before Division 3 academic scholarship only, or needs-based scholarship. It doesn't matter how good you are at golf, you can't get golf scholarship or in Division 3, but that's not a bad thing at all. Can you, just want to stay on the point just a little bit, what do you think drew Harry specifically to his college that he chose? Was it that academic focus, do you think, or?
I think it was probably the coach.
Yeah.
The coach, I think Harry felt that the coach was really interested in him and what he wanted to achieve. So it was more about helping Harry achieve what he wanted to achieve. There was a fair bit about, you know, Knox wants to do well, they want to win their conference, they want to do all of that, and they need good players. But the coach was after someone to fit into the team. So he was very specific about he needs to find the right fit for the team, because the team's got to work well together, because it's a team sport. So I think Harry felt that a real connection with the coach, and I think it was definitely the coach that talked him over the line to get there.
No, that's good. I think, and that's very common. We preach that, I guess, every day, that, you know, make your choice based on two major things. Am I going to play on the team? Am I integral to the team? And has the coach got my back? Is coach going to be good for me? Am I going to really see myself working for that coach for 4 years? You know, so you know, then when you answer the yes to those two questions, then the actual division is kind of redundant in a way. I think so. I think we automatically think Division 3 must be inferior to Division 2 and certainly Division 1, but it's clearly not the case. They're just different, and it's different, you know, different for everyone. So. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's important. Okay, I want to just focus and sort of wind down a little bit here, but really focusing on some parent-specific questions and tips. We've sort of done the report card. I think it's fair to say there's an A+ on that report card if I'm to get my old teacher's hat on.
Definitely.
he's done well, and he continues to do well. But it's to some specific reflections. Jackie, I might start with you for the mums listening. Rewinding right back to that day Harry decided he wanted to pursue the pathway. Was there any trepidation about sending your boy off to college in the US back then?
I probably felt good because Harry was a little bit older, but I think the way we run our family is we listen to him. So we really tried to understand where he saw himself going, and then we felt that our job was to support him, to make sure that he got to where he wanted to go. And if he was really passionate enough about it, he will drive it.
Yeah.
So, and through that whole process, he was driving it. So, we had very little to do with him speaking to the coaches, the correspondence there. That all came down to him. So that was an indication that this is really where he saw himself. So our job was to support him and say, how can we help you? What can we do?
Yeah, and I must admit, during the process, Harry's communication was so it was spot on, basically, with us, which is really important that the students going over engage well with us. And I think he definitely had the advantage of being just that little bit more mature than most of the students we work with, who might be in year 10 or 11 when they start. But Harry, as you said, had that experience, so that's definitely helped. But also his engagement with the coaches was just phenomenal. Naturally, kids, when they're in high school, they're busy, they got a lot of distractions, a lot going on. Well, it's not uncommon for us to sort of have to prompt, students, say, hey, don't forget to talk to that coach to get back, and never had to do that with Harry. So, the fact that he's having a very good experience and he's found his right fit is testament to that, I think, and the good communication. That's the two biggest things, I think, that we say to families or boys and girls. Once you're introduced to a coach, they're pretty interested if they want to meet with you. To get an actual scholarship from that point comes down to how well you communicate proactively and with keenness, and how well you can demonstrate some ongoing improvement in your sport. So he did that very well. Dan, once Harry was into the process, what was the thought process for the Phillips family behind, what were you going to base your choice on as a family, in terms of the choice of college?
Well, as Jackie said, it was really simple. It's sort of Harry's choice, and so just making sure that as long as we were happy with the process, and that all the options, we always take the approach with kids, give them all the options, make sure they're making informed decisions, and then then the right decision will sort of pop out if you sort of have the right process. What you don't want to do, it's not our call. But our only job is to make sure that all the information's out there so that it's an informed decision. And as Jackie said, it's sort of out of all the intensity of the process and talking to lots of people, it's like a lot of these things, the obvious or the obvious two or three choices quickly sort of pop out, and then then you work through the process. And in Harry's case, I think there were probably there's probably maybe one other place that might have been high on the priorities, but this one really just became the obvious choice.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that, because when we talk to families, we've got a lot of confidence in our process. We've been doing this a long time, and you got to trust the process, engage in the process, as you said, make sure you explore all options, get informed. And it's not hard to be informed these days at all, but let the right college emerge. The right college will reveal itself if you engage in the process. That's exactly right. And
I remember you saying that to us, actually, Chris, that the right college will come. It will present itself, and you'll know. And it was exactly that.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very true, and it's very true for Harry. So now that he's over there, what's the Phillips method of contact, and how often are you talking with Harry? I guess parents will want to know that sort of thing. How do you engage in communication with him?
So we have a WhatsApp chat every week. So once a week, just a face-to-face video chat so that we can see. So it's wherever he is, whether he's in the library, whether he's in the cafeteria, whether he's in his dorm room, wherever he is. There's always has to be a once a week, catch up. What have you been up to? And especially when he was playing the tournaments, we'd be chatting to him, how did you go? He was very good about, I played this. And so we talk through all of the holes and this sort of stuff. We also do have a WhatsApp, and as a mum, I check up on him lots. So always, is there anything I can do? Is there anything you need? How are things going? Is it not too cold? Are you sure you got that jacket? Make sure you go and buy that extra doona if you need it. And so but we catch up regularly, so that's important, just because you can tell a lot from people's faces and non-verbals and stuff. So videos these days, you can see that. So
virtually in the next room, I feel like I'm looking over your shoulder there. I feel like I could get my board shorts on. Feels like I'm there. You're right. And what about the coach? We generally find, and this is something that parents need to know too, that throughout the recruiting process, coach is crucial. Decision making on the college, coach is a big part of that. When they're over there, coaches aren't. It's not like high school, right? So this is university. They expect that, right? You're here now. You're with us. Parents emailing saying, hey, why didn't my son make the team last week? Those things are probably not going to be received or responded to too much. But in terms of other things, have you had much engagement with the coach since Harry's been over there?
There's probably more in the earlier days. There was quite a bit because, again, the fact that we'd gone over there, gone out to dinner with the coach and the team and the coach's wife, and I think she was pregnant at the time. So then they had a baby, and so then I think we sent them, I think we might have sent them a gift as well.
Lovely.
And so, we got really nice feedback from him about how well Harry's doing. And so I think it was from there. We really haven't had to have any since then because, everything's been going well and is sort of well settled in. But the good thing is, our plan had been, we would have been back there to check in, to go and see him this year had we, been able to travel. But we certainly want to get back to the college and, just drop in and see him and catch up with his friends at some point as well. Hopefully we'll do that next year.
Yeah. Well, let's all keep our fingers crossed. I think next year's a bit more blue sky ahead, I think, for 2021. But I used to envy some of my teammates that had their parents visiting, and I used to be drawn to them because they almost just want that parent figure. My parents never came over until my graduation day, which was very special. But throughout the journey, a number of my Aussie teammates' parents would come over, and I feel like I've just got connected. So you get to know the other players' parents and families as well. That's a cool part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So he's done that. I mean, Knox College is about 3 hours out of Chicago. So if he's sort of flying back somewhere or coming through Chicago, he'll normally stay, one or more nights with, one of his friends at the parents' place. So there's good support. There's definitely good support there.
I was going to ask, we've just got Thanksgiving just around the corner. So has he got something lined up for Thanksgiving?
Well, actually, interestingly, because last year he got invited, but did he come back?
But he came home,
He came, and this year I think he'll be home before Thanksgiving again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he hasn't actually, because he's coming back on Sunday, actually, he's flying back. Because at the college, they've got the winter break, and then the first month, they're actually doing remotely.
Online.
So he sort of figured, well, you could be in Chicago or in Midwest in winter, or be in Australia in summer. So so he'll be back here for a couple of months.
So we're bringing him back here. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Just summer and for Christmas. Yeah.
Or maybe somewhere along his journey there, he might have a little white Christmas and see how that goes. But I'll tell you what, I think I'd be taking the summer option as well. Okay, so look, I've got a couple of questions, and then I'll let you go for a morning swim. But what are the biggest changes, Jackie, you've seen in Harry since he left for college?
He's probably it was more independent, I think. There was a stage that he went over there. He had quite bad flu, so he had to deal with that on his own. And in fact, his roommate had to bring him to the hospital. So that's a bit scary, but he navigated his way through that. And I think he learned a lot about, looking after himself a bit better, especially in the winter, because we're just not used to that sort of winter. And that's something that I can't help him with. He has to, I can send him everything and tell him, suggest what to do. But at the end of the day, he's got to work out what's better for him. I think he's learnt more about, being in charge of his own nutrition, and health and stuff, and he's got to take control of that. So I think that's a whole process of maturity. So I think he's had to, he's not an extrovert. He's probably more on the introvert scale, but he's had to stand out and get to know people, and so that's pushed his own personal boundaries and made him understand a bit more about himself and stuff. So that's, and he stands out. There's only 3 Australians in the whole college. So he's going to stand out whether he likes it or not.
Yes.
But, so having to deal with that, I think is he's had to grow into that. And and I think there are times that he probably has been a bit homesick, but he's had to kind of put on a brave face, and but it's good. He always knows that he can talk to us about anything. So we always just reassure him that we're always here. We've always got his back, no matter what it is. That's just the way, we do it.
That's fantastic. And we're the same. We like to think our students that we help feel comfortable contacting us. In fact, I just heard from Harry just before we logged in here. I told him that we were doing a podcast, and he said he wants a copy of that Zoom, so you'll have to switch links and do some sharing of some videos. Okay, but it's very important that kids feel like, because homesickness is a reality. You're away from home, you're going to get homesick, and look, we've been there, done that. We know what it feels like, and we know how to get over it too. Which is generally just staying busy and talking about it, basically. So they're the 2 biggest things. But I'm pleased to hear that, and so look, they're really good changes. A lot of people, human nature, I think, is, I don't know how my son or daughter will go, having to, once they're out of the dorm, how they're going to cook for themselves and how they're going to do their washing. Well, I think that's a reason to go. You talk about looking after his nutrition and health. I'm sure as great parents, you probably took the lead on that when he was at home, but there's nothing like going out on your own in the deep end a little bit. You've got a great support around you, but you still got to make your own decisions and be self-guided with these things. So I think that's a good reason to go.
For sure.
And so that's good for parents to hear as well. Okay, to finish off, you can feel free to both answer this question and share anything, but have you sort of got any tips? I'm thinking of families listening that might have a son or daughter year 10 or 11 or 9 or whatever age, not quite sure if they want to go down this pathway or not. What advice do you give to families or students themselves considering the pathway?
For the student, obviously, it's got to be driven by what they want to do, and not what anybody else or anybody's expectations. So for the student, to the extent if they really want to do it, then and obviously the younger they are, the more help they may need. But at the end of the day, it's got to be something they believe in, and therefore they drive. Because even just being in the process and driving that, is an important part of that. And then obviously, to give you an unashamed plug, it's a bit like if you're going to sell your house, maybe a small percentage of people will say, I won't pay the real estate agent, I'll just do that myself. And of course, with those most important decisions in your life, that's why you've got professionals there who, if you're sensible, you will go through them. And this is, one of the most important decisions that a student will make. And so whilst you can probably try and work it out yourself, for us, it's a bit of a no-brainer to go with study and play, with you guys, where you had so much expertise, and we're getting the benefit of, well, not just your own experience, Chris, as a student over there, but just the hundreds of students that you've helped. And so I think that's was such an important part of the process, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously we agree with you naturally, but it's obviously helpful perspective to hear, and appreciate those kind words. But it's we always say to parents, look, this is your most prized possession here, that you work with, and sending them to the other side of the world. You want to get it right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's something we take on very seriously. We're not going to send any student to anywhere that we wouldn't send our own son. Or our own children, for all of our staff. So no, that's appreciate those words. What about yourself, Jackie? Anything?
So for me, most important thing is communication. So communicating well with you, and you knowing really who Harry was in order to help guide him. So the more communication that you can have with each other, the better. So it's and for us with Harry, it was talking through things, and tell us about this, coach, how was that interview, and asking him the right questions. Did you feel comfortable? Was it somewhere that you could see yourself? So just it's got to be a group effort. So Harry was driving the process, but our job was really important to stand behind him and listen and ask the right questions, and then the whole process that you guys have got set up, Harry was driving it, but I was always checking in and was there anything that you needed my help with? So, Harry and I would divide the job. So if there was, administration to get and, requests from the schools or something like that, that was my job. So, we divided the tasks, and things that I felt I could do, I would do, and things that, he needed to do, that was his job. But it's a joint effort, and you've got to work with you guys and ask all the questions. I remember asking you, do you think anyone's going to want him? And you said to me, don't you worry, there's going to be so many, it's going to be a tough decision to make who. And I just kept saying, well, are you sure? What if no one comes back? What if no coaches come back wanting him or whatever? So, it's a really good, ask whatever questions, no matter how, silly you think they are. It's just communication, the most important thing.
Yeah, love it. We love questions, because that gives us an opportunity to educate and inform, so then you can make an informed decision. So you're exactly right. It's a collaboration. We've got a job to do when people engage with us, a big job. But as do you, as parents supporting, it is more supporting the student driving, as you've mentioned. You get those three things happening, and you'll get a good outcome. So we're just pleased. Your family, I've got to say, you've given us a plug, but I've got to say, as a family, you've been such a pleasure to work with. The process was very smooth for us. It's not always smooth. It's not always easy, the process, but because of those things you just talked about, we collaborated very well, and that's why Harry's reaping the benefits off that. So, last thing. In one word, you can choose one word each. How would you describe Harry's experience so far? Put you on the spot with this one.
Probably phenomenal, I think. Yeah. So Harry, to me, seems so happy and settled and excited, and I think he's found his place. And he is where he should be. That's more than one word, sorry.
I'm going to stick
my one word, and it is one word.
Sorry, Dan.
And so maybe it's got a hyphen in it, but life-changing.
Life-changing. There you go. I like it. So phenomenal and life-changing. I think that's a great note to finish on. Very, very pleased to hear it. And like I said, really appreciate your time today anyway, but particularly looking at the beautiful day out there behind you and the water. I'm a bit feel bad stopping you from jumping in, so I'll leave you to it. Really appreciate it, Dan and Jackie.
You're very welcome.
Thanks,
Chris. Thank you so much.
No worries.